Welcome back to our channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make bread, and I'm going to use our grain attachment for our Champion juicer. We do sell these on our web store. Check it out at www.closureforjesus.com. We have these as well as the Champion juicers. I enjoy this grain grinder so much that I almost never remove it from my Champion. I just bought a whole different type of juicer, which I actually prefer. But you can make a lot of things with the Champion juicer. If you have the regular attachment for it, you can make your own banana ice cream. Just peel bananas, ripe bananas, and freeze them. And once they're frozen solid, you can run them through there. And the only ingredient is bananas. It's like soft serve ice cream. It's delicious. You can make your own nut butters. A lot of things you can do. I really don't care for the juicing attachment that's made for the Champion juicer, so we don't carry that on our store because I don't recommend it. It really doesn't work well, but this thing is awesome. By the way, I do also have a hand grain grinder for if you don't have electricity or if you just want some exercise, but it's out there buried in the sea of boxes waiting to be redeemed when we buy our own property. I just didn't want to unpack too much stuff. So today I'm going to use my grain grinder on my Champion juicer. Why do I grind my own grain? That's a good question, and I think it's one that we all need to ask ourselves. And the reason that I do grind my own grain, when God made the grain, He made it as a nice little package that will keep. It has a long shelf life. It preserves the vitamins and mineral content in the seed. Once that seed is broken open, the oxidative processes begin immediately. The enzymes begin to be used up, so you don't have the enzymes to help break down the grain. The B vitamins are oxidized out. The fats that are in, I believe it's the germ portion of the wheat, it begins to go rancid. And from the statistics that I've read, within 24 hours, I think it is, 45% of the nutrients in the flour are gone. They're oxidized out. And within just a few days, up to 85% of the nutrition in that grain is gone. So you're losing a lot when you use flour off of the grocery store shelf. So if you want the best nutrition and the best taste for you and your family, the best way is to grind your own grain. So let's get started. I'll show you how this thing works. It's a Jim Dandy. Okay, what comes with the grain grinder is this neat little denim bag. It has snaps on it here, and there are snaps on the grain attachment. You can see here, there's one on the front, one on the back. What you do is you take just, these were bags that had stuff in it that I ordered, and I just washed them out and saved them, and I slide this down inside the denim bag like so, and attach it. You want to separate it like that, and just snap right through the plastic to either side of this grain attachment. Make sure it's steady. It's stable, it's well attached there. Okay, this is the dial that sets the width of the stones that are inside here. What I have found that works best is to open it up and just crack the grain first, and then run it through a second time with the dial completely closed, and that gives you a nice fine flour. If you try to do it with the stones completely together, it takes forever. And so this makes it much more quick. You have the hopper here, and today I buy my grains in 25-pound bags. I would buy them in 50-pound bags, but usually my husband is working whenever I go to pick up the order, and I don't want to manhandle those things. I have a bad back already. So I buy it in the large bags, and then I just put it in smaller bags and store it. And I have buckets out in the garage that I store things in. So anyway, you just I have the dial kind of open. Just pour the grain right in to the hopper. I fill it up, and I may actually refill it again as it's grinding, just so I don't overfill my bag. And sometimes as I don't have to do it with it wide open, but once I dial it down and it's grinding the actual fine flour, sometimes we'll kind of tap it and shake the bag to settle it a little bit. I'll show you. Okay, fill up our hopper completely full. This is Spelt. I like to rotate my grains and not make the same kind of bread every time. Sometimes I use red wheat, sometimes white, sometimes Spelt, sometimes kamut, and then sometimes I make a gluten-free bread with millet flour, and we'll show you how to do that in a different video. At any rate, we have everything set up, and there's an on switch, power switch in the back. These Champions, I mean, especially, we sell the industrial model. I mean, you can't kill them almost. So, okay, we're ready to go. We'll run this through, and I'll come back when we're done. Okay, I've got it. I've got my grain cracking. I just want to show you the consistency of what it looks like, what I mean by cracking it. You can see that it's not flour by any means, but it's definitely well broken. And now, whenever I run it through this time, turn the dial so that it's completely closed. It's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Turn it so it's closed. Sometimes there's a little grain in between there from just cracking it. And once you open it, you'll be able to once you turn the machine on, sometimes you can close it down just a little bit more. So we'll play with that a little bit. But I filled this bag up, and I think I filled the hopper twice for that much. And you're going to get a whole lot more flour than grain volume. Obviously, it's going to break up. And then I have just a little bit left. So I'm going to go ahead and grind all of this up, and I'll show you the finished product. The bag may get too full as you're grinding, so you may have to replace with another bag. So you want to make sure you have plenty of these bags on hand. You kind of have to get some of the flour out, or spit it out after you take the bag off. Okay, we got our flour ground. Ready to go to the next step. Okay, I think we're ready to get started here. You may notice that I'm a little bit partial to stainless steel. It lasts forever, durable. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I'm not going to measure everything exactly like the recipe that I base this on calls for, because when I make bread, I want to make enough that I don't have to make it all the time. You know, it lasts, and I can make a nice loaf and store it in the freezer. So I have my yeast here, and I buy my yeast by the pound, and I'm using organic coconut palm sugar for my sugar, and so I'm going to combine that with my yeast, and my water is warm enough. By the way, if you can place the back of your hand in it and it's comfortably warm, that's warm enough. You don't have to measure the temperature or anything. Okay, so I'm just going to put some water in this. I'm not really measuring. Again, I'm going to give you the recipe, but I'm not measuring exact for this because I'm sort of a dump cook. But there is a recipe that makes, I think it makes 2 loaves, but my recipe makes a little more than that. What I do, I'm just showing you how I do it, and then I'll give you the actual recipe at the end of the video. So I combine the yeast and set that aside so it can raise. And then what this is ground flax. This acts as a binder in the recipe. When you add a little bit of warm water to this and let it sit a little bit, it becomes very thick and slippery and almost like a gel. And so I'm going to add some hot water to this and let these both sit, and then we'll come back in a little bit and get started making us some bread. By the way, if you like fresh bread with butter, go down here in this corner and I'll show you how to make vegan butter. It's delicious. Back in a minute. Okay, I think my yeast is activated and raised well. It looks good. My flax is ready. See how it kind of looks like glue, maybe, sort of. I don't know. Anyway, that acts as a really nice binder and also adds fiber to the bread. I use about a half a cup of oil. I think the recipe that I'm going to give you calls for a fourth to a third cup, but because I'm making a bigger recipe. And I usually just add this right in with the flax and kind of stir it up a little bit. And my salt, add both of those in here. Made a little glop on the counter. Anyway, combine those, and I'm going to just pour everything over. Let me fix the camera here so you can see what I'm doing. I like these great big bowls. Pour everything in here, and then we'll start adding our flour and stirring it in a little bit at a time. Just pour these right in. Flax is good and omega-3s are very high. Omega-3s. It's freshly ground. Ground it this morning. Okay. And we'll just stir these together well. And then I'm just going to start adding my flour. Typically, you might want to add it a cup at a time, but I just kind of an eyeball cook. Okay. It's probably about a cup and a half or two. Add that in and beat that together well. Just keep adding flour and stirring it in, and I'll probably add a little bit more water too. Got some more hot water here. This bread is so delicious. It's excellent toasted and for sandwiches. Another way that you can use it that's very easily digestible because it breaks down the starches and kind of pre-digest them is to, once it's baked, is to slice it and then just lay the slices right on the oven rack with the oven down at its lowest setting and completely dehydrate it. It's like Melba toast, if you're familiar with Melba toast. It's actually called Zwieback. Very tasty. It will keep for months actually on the counter, but it doesn't last that long around here, but it's delicious. It's great for like backpacking or for trips when you don't want to have to put everything in the ice chest. Very, very delicious. By the way, did you know that you should not eat, and I know I'm going to step on some toes here because everybody loves fresh bread right out of the oven slathered with butter, right? That's actually very harmful for your stomach. The yeast is not dead yet, and if you eat that yeast before it dies, now of course if you put it in the oven and dehydrate it, that actually kills the yeast, but it takes a day or two for that yeast to become inactive and not be harmful to the stomach. So it's best to let your bread sit for a day or two before you eat it. Okay, more flour. Once I get this to a little more dough consistency, we'll transfer over to the table, the kitchen table, to knead it because I'm a little too short to knead on this countertop. I have to have a little stool. You do want to knead it. This makes such a nice bread, and even when you'll see whenever we make the gluten-free and make it kind of with the same procedure, it raises nicely. Most gluten-free breads don't raise that well, but the recipe that a friend of mine shared, the basic recipe, and of course I've kind of tweaked it a little bit. So anyway, we'll do that in another video. This is spelt bread. Okay, we're getting there. I'm going to add a little more water because I want a little more bread. A little more water, a little more flour. By the way, whenever I grind this flour, if I have any flour left over, I put it in the freezer right away, and I try to plan my recipe so that I can use it as quickly as possible so that I maintain my nutrition. Okay, we've transferred over to the table now so I can use my body weight to knead. And you can see I'm ready to take my hands in here to mix this now. It's still very sticky, and I just, continue kneading it together until I get it the consistency that I want. Get my flour sitting here. This is really good upper body exercise, by the way. You see our digestive enzymes? We carry those on the webpage. Those things work great. You just knead it until you get it to the consistency that you want. My oven is preheated because I made something else. I'll show you what else I made this morning. Stuff really smells good. So once we get this kneaded together, I'm going to cover it with a warm damp cloth and put it in the oven and let it raise for 45 minutes to an hour or so, something like that. And then take it out, break it into sections, re-knead it. I'll show you. I'll get there. So we're going to fast forward until I get it just the perfect consistency. I'll show you what it looks like. Got it. So it's kind of a nice consistency. It's not sticky. It's nice and smooth. So now we're going to leave this in the pan here. I'm going to cover it with a warm damp cloth. I wish you could smell that. Boy, is it delicious. I made that for a fellowship meal at church tomorrow. Today's Friday. I'm getting ready for the Sabbath. Usually I don't make bread on Friday because it takes a while, but it was a busy week, so it's fallen on today. But that is lentils and rice. It's delicious. If you'd like to know the recipe and how to make that, let me know sometime. I'll show you how to make that. So let's get this bread in the oven to raise. It's going to raise for 45 minutes to an hour, so we'll come back. Okay, let's see what we've got. The bowl may be too warm, I'm not sure. Ooh-wee. That raised up nicely. Let's take it over to the table. Okay, we're set up over here on the kitchen table. Always remember whenever you grind your flour to grind enough so you have some to spread on your countertop and knead in a little extra if the dough's just a little sticky still. So it raised up really nice. Pull this off and let's see what we've got. Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's pour that out on the table. Okay, now I don't have enough stainless steel pans because this is going to make at least 3 loaves. So what I like to do, I need to invest in another one, but I just use a little Corelle dish. So I've got these pre-oiled, and when I oil these, I always make sure to put a little bit here on the lip in case it raises up over. But I make my loaves small because I want to make sure that they're thoroughly baked and I don't have any problems with soft centers and stuff. I forgot my knife to cut this, so let's just see. We can just tear it into sections. That's about enough for the bowl. I think I'm going to make a small loaf, and then I'll show you, I use these Corelle dishes too. You can, I've got them pre-oiled, but the oil is kind of slid down in there. I use those as well. I'm going to steal a little dough from these. Alright, and then I just knead it together again, just kind of folding it together. Now this is where all my creative friends are going to cringe. I am a get-her-done kind of person. I'm not, it's beautiful when it's done, but it's functional. That's more where I'm at. So not that I think it's great. But people are creative. I just wasn't blessed with that gift. So anyway, it tastes good and it's healthy, and I try to make it attractive. So I just kind of roll it together, fold it in on itself, and knead it again. Just mainly The only thing we're kneading it for now really is to shape it, because it's well kneaded. And I just kind of roll it into a little tube like that, pound off the edge and fold it down both sides. And that'll be a small little loaf in my bread pan, but it'll raise nicely. And I just, like I said, I like for my loaves to be thoroughly baked all the way through. One down. Okay? This will be our other loaf, and steal a little bit from this one. Make this one a little bit bigger. Okay. My best friend showed me how to make bread. I was petrified of making bread for years, but once she showed me and I gained a little confidence with it, I realized it's really not difficult. It's not rocket science. I've never looked back. I've always made my own bread, and I much prefer it to store-bought bread. It's much better for you. You know what you're getting. I always recommend using organic grains and organic everything, organic olive oil and whatever you can organic, because there's so many pesticides in our world today. Just overloads us. And one day we'll do a video on how to clean your liver and detoxify your body. We're making these videos because we want people to learn how to live simple, practical, self-sufficient lifestyles. I'm going to do another video soon, ladies, so that you can overcome anxiety about a chainsaw. I'll show you how to take care of a chainsaw, how you can pull it apart, clean it, and maybe even a little bit how to use it. Okay, this is going to go in our morel dish, and this last one is for our, this is also morel, it's not Pyrex. Anyway, get them all kneaded together. Now when I put these in the oven, my oven is still warm from when I made the lentils and rice earlier. And when you raise the bread like we did just a few minutes ago, you just want the oven warm. Not more than about 150, 160 degrees. And even that may be a little warm. When I put it in the oven obviously is still a little bit warm. I don't preheat my oven to bake my bread. I put the bread right in with the oven warm. You know, I maybe heat it up to about 150. And then I put my bread in, let it sit for a few minutes, and then I'll turn the oven on about 250 and let it raise at 250 for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then I'll turn the oven up. That seems to me to work really well to get the bread to raise very, very nicely. Okay, as I said, my oven is just still, it's very warm, but I can touch the racks. And I typically put it just seems to work better for me. I put the ones in the stainless steel pans on the outside so they get more heat. And then the bigger loaf of the round one I put in the back and the smaller one in the front. Okay, these little ones in the Corelle dishes basically just slide right out, as you can see. This one, see, it just rotates in there. Just pop that out. See, it's nice and brown on the bottom. Sometimes with these, if they've gone over a little bit, I just take a little knife and butter knife and go around. They pop out. You see how it looks nice on the bottom. This one should come right out. Yep. Okay. They say if you can place your hand on the bottom without it burning, that's one way to know that the loaf is done. See you on the next video.